Hey everyone, this is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and it's Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We have made it to Friday. It's Friday, January 10th. We got our first official work week of the new 2025 under our belts. I know everybody's probably ready for a weekend. You get all fired up and get ready to go, and then get that first week, and it's like, all right, whew, let's take a little break. But we're here. We're live. We're with you. We're wrapping up our Foundations week tonight. So we're going to kind of take an overview of what we talked about. We're going to finish up our exercise conversation that we had last night. And then we're going to get into some conversations that I had this week. One of them is about depression. I really want to address that tonight. I think that's a big deal. And then there's some ideas that I want to talk about adjusting and nervous system function. And so I think it's going to be a good show from that standpoint. We're on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. We're on our social media pages. We're on these, probably on the Walk by Faith social media pages too. So if you guys would like to text us, you got a topic that you would like to talk about tonight, you want something you want to talk to me about, send me a text. 806-794-0400 is our text line. 806-794-0400 is our text line. Or you can send us a message on any of our social media channels, and we'd be glad to answer them. I'd be glad to answer them. I am the only we here. It's just me doing this show, just talking to you for an hour, Monday through Friday. Hey, speaking of that, if you got some friends that you want to listen to the show, send it to them. Like, send them a message. Say, hey, you ought to listen to this guy. You know, he says some pretty cool stuff every once in a while. It takes him a little while to come around sometimes, but it's good. So if you want to share it with someone, do that. If you guys are in Lubbock and you need a chiropractor, you want a wellness chiropractor, if you want a pain management chiropractor, you should go to The Joint. Like, if you just want to get popped, you should probably just go to The Joint or someplace like that. But if you want a wellness chiropractor, someone that will try to put together a program for you to make your life better, help you shine your light bright into this world, then that's what we do here at The Rock. So come by and see us and make an appointment, call us, become a patient. We'll help change your life. So I don't have anything good. I mean, that's horrible, the fire that's going on out in Los Angeles. That's horrible. That's and I don't care about there's a lot of people that makes comments about the politics of it. It's just horrible. So I don't make comments about the politics of that stuff. I'll let you guys do that. Let Ken do that. You want to watch Ken Adams at the Thin Line with Ken Adams? You can watch him. He'll break it down for you about the politics and stuff. Robert Pratt will break down the politics. We're just going to talk about health. That's just something that's going on in the world today. It's that big fire, and it's horrible. Football, I missed the whole first half of the football game last night. Didn't even know they were playing. Turned it on. It was 10-3 Penn State, and got to watch the second half. That was quite exciting. Those guys are getting after it. Can't wait to get home. Lewis, if you're out there watching, I can't wait to get home. Watch the Buckeyes just put it on those horns tonight. So, yeah, that's probably if you see and notice a big smile coming from Lubbock, then that's what that's all about right there. So, that's going on tonight. Getting that college football wrapped up. So. Let's get into it. Let's finish up what we were talking about last night, and because we were talking about exercise. If you didn't get a chance to listen to the show last night, you can go back and go to the Walk by Faith Facebook page. You can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our YouTube channel at Health from the Rock. You can go to Jason Clemmons DC on X, and you can watch the show from last night. And the show from last night, we talked about exercise, right? Because what are we doing this week? We're talking about foundations. We're talking about the fundamental things that we need to set the year off and get us moving in the right direction to have a great year. So we talked about innate intelligence. We talked about adjustments. We talked about nutrition. And last night we talked about exercise. And I didn't get through all the slides. I just got 2 more slides to go. And but they're kind of important slides, right? So last night we talked about the 3 different energy systems, the really quick phosphagen system, the 2-minute system, your glycolytic system, and then your aerobic system that goes on for a long period of time, right? And so when you're building, one of the things, and I didn't intend to make last night's show a defense or sound like I was trying to defend CrossFit. I'm not trying to defend CrossFit at all, really, because it speaks for itself. It's great. It's fantastic. If you guys want to watch it work in real life, like if you want to watch how awesome it is to have a fitness program run by people who are trying to change the world, go to CrossFit Cross. You go to a Facebook page and go to just follow CrossFit Cross. Let me make sure that that's right, because I got them on my other page. But yeah, CrossFit Cross, KROS. Just follow that page right there. And that's my pals from over in Roswell, MJ and T. Lewis and their family and all those guys that work for them over there and with them. They've got a great thing going, and they got a bunch of videos that they post. There's MJ doing toes to bar right there, and they got the whole team working out, and everybody is, I mean, like, they're changing people's lives through exercise over there. It's so inspiring. I actually love to watch those videos. And they had a whole bunch of kids working out this week, and they showed that video of the kids working out, and they were having like a relay race and trying to push a big mat across the room. And so it leads me to the idea of safety, efficacy, and efficiency. And that comes straight from the CrossFit training manual and the conversation that Greg Glassman brought to the table for me to learn something from. And when you're really wanting to talk about safety and efficiency, first of all, what is it? What are those things? Okay. And I kind of switched them on the slide there to talk about safety last, but the efficacy is basically, what is the return? When you say you're going to do a workout program, or someone says they have a workout program for you, you want to see results, right? Like, you want measurable, observable, repeatable data. Now, you may not want it personally, but you want the program to be built on that. You want the program to be built on something that has outcome measures that says, look, we're going to get you there. We're going to take you from one place, and we're going to take you from another place. And I'll give you another example, because I got this window opened up. I got 2 different ones right here. This was from years back in 2020 when we started the program, but a 64-year-old male member of the Rock Fitness. He lost 14.3 pounds from his first scan on 5/4 to his second scan on 6/8. No gimmicks, no weight loss pills, no BS, no Ozempic shots, none of that stuff. You know, I hear that all the time. Yeah, I tried other things and it just didn't work, so I think I'll just go get the shot, right? There's no, his program, he controlled his diet and exercise, and he exercised at the Rock Fitness twice a week. That he did those. That's what we were talking about last night. Those glycolytic HIIT workouts, those 2-minute to 3-minute repetition style workouts that you can get anaerobic and aerobic exercises at the same time going on. And that was in a 1-month period of time. He lost 14 pounds, real pounds. And that's efficacy. That's saying, hey, look, this is something that you can measure. We've got measurable outcomes. So when you start the program with us, then we do the testing in the beginning, and we go through the in-body scan, and we put you through that body composition analysis, and we do all those measurements. And then when we put you through the program, then we do the measurements again. right? So we can measure if all of the work and power and intensity and force and all that stuff that we talked about last night is actually doing anything for you. Because that's kind of what you want to know. Is it doing something for me, right? And I've got another one here, same program, and that this is a 31-year-old male. 31 member of this member went from 239 pounds to 209 pounds. So that's 30 pounds that he lost right there. His body fat mass went from 84 to 61.3, and his percent body fat went from 35 to 29. He reports increased energy, strength, and endurance. So that was a slide that I made back in COVID when it said we had COVID around for 19 weeks. I wonder if those in charge will ever ask those of us in health and wellness for help, right? I saw a deal yesterday that was 15,000 medical doctors wrote a letter to the Congress, to the U.S. Congress, to block the nomination or whatever you call it of RFK to Junior to run the Health and Human Services. 15,000 medical doctors signed a petition, wrote a letter to the to Congress. What is their deal? That's what I want to know. What is their deal? What kind of doctor are you that you don't want people to get well? And you're afraid because you're afraid it's going to challenge the process, right? I'm not. I said I wasn't going to get political, and sometimes I get all fired up about that. But we went through a pandemic, and we didn't let any of the health and wellness people. We didn't let the health and wellness people keep our people well, right? We turned to all that nonsense that doesn't have anything to do with wellness. And I wish I could find that. Yeah, there it is right there. This is a committee to protect health care. As physicians who care deeply about the health and safety of our patients and communities, we are appalled by Donald Trump's reckless decision to appoint Robert F. Kennedy as Secretary of Health and Human Services, the health and well-being of 360 million Americans. When we had the greatest opportunity for the health and well-being of the 336 million Americans, where were you guys? Where were you guys that signed that petition? What were you telling people that they should do when the middle of that, right? Because these guys worked out. And I can show you all the science that you want. I can show anybody the science that they want to know that says the people that died from COVID had coexisting morbidities. Whatever. They had other problems. They had diabetes. They had sugar control problems. They had respiratory issues. They had immune system failures. They were obese, all that sort of thing. What's better for a person to get well, to get himself through a pandemic than to lose 30 pounds and do it in a relatively 24-week period of time? And he only had to work out twice a week and then quit eating garbage, right? So I'm excited about, I don't agree with all of his points, but I'm excited about having someone who's healthy as heck, or at least has a chance to get some of us healthier up there. And it's like, if you're, that's what we deal with, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to get off in that, but I just remember that when I was talking about this, I saw that sign. It irritates the heck out of me that the wellness people didn't get to keep people well. Well, that's part of the reason I'm on this show tonight. And that's my own fault. That's my fault for not being big enough to it's kind of funny, and I'm going to use politics again, but I just as an example, because I saw somebody make a comment about President Trump's his deal today, his what do you call it? His verdict or his punishment, whatever his punishment is, right? It's like they gave him his punishment, but his punishment isn't anything except all of his charges stand, and now he's a felon. And I saw somebody make a comment that said there's different levels of justice in America. And I'm like, you're dang right there's different levels of justice in America. If you're big enough, then you have a different level of justice. It happens, it's been that way since the beginning of time. And it's the same thing with health and wellness. If you're big enough, then you can push back against that energy that we're getting. Now, I'm not that big. They'll squash me in a second. But you've heard it now. And so for the people that listen to the show and the people that watch the show, you guys now have some foundational ammunition that you can take with you, right? You've now got a little bit of knowledge that you weren't going to get the first time around, and about some of the things that you can do, and so I haven't gotten big enough quite yet to take on the powers that run the world, not spiritually, but in the world. But maybe it's big enough for us. Okay? All right, let me get back on track. The efficacy is what is measured. Increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. That's their thing. Does it do what it says it does? Okay? The second thing is efficiency. And efficiency is the time rate of adaptation, or how long does it take you to be able to accomplish what the goals of the workout are. Let's say you want to do a pull-up and you can't do a pull-up. Well, how long does it take for you to do this workout program to end up being able to do a pull-up? If you can do a pull-up in 6 weeks, that's way better than if you could do a pull-up in 9 years. It's kind of what he uses as an example, right? That's not very efficient. The program isn't very efficient. And then the last thing is the safety. How many people finish the program? Like, you could write something that is so hard and so dangerous and so taxing that it causes all kinds of injury and damage and just chaos. And his example is you start with 10 people and only 2 people can finish and the other people just get injured or die. Would you consider that a good workout program? And he'd be, no, that's not safe enough. No one would want to enter that program. What Greg Glassman presented to me when he presented me with this idea of working out is that you got to push the boundaries a little bit to get the efficiency and the efficacy of your program. There's kind of like a 3-sided scale, if that's even a thing. The efficacy is built into the program. The program works. But the program works at the intensity that the program was written. If you're trying to do an anaerobic, moderate to high-powered movement, and you do it in an aerobic, low-powered way, you change the efficacy of the written exercise. You change the way that the exercise actually, I know it might not even make any sense, but let's say that let's just say that we're doing burpees. Let's just say that you get on the ground and you get off the ground, and we've measured that. Well, no, let's go back and do our little imaginary weight yesterday that we were talking about. Right, we've got 10-pound weight in our hand. We're going to move it 2 feet. We can figure out how much work is done. We can figure how much power, because it's going to take us 2 seconds, and our outcome in power is 10. Let's go back through that 1 second. I know that might be a little crazy, but work equals force times distance, right? So force is 10 pounds, distance is 2 feet. When we do that, we end up with work as 20, and whatever your units are, right? Okay, so now what is power? Power is work divided by time. So now we've got 20, and it took us 2 seconds to do it. So now our power output is 10. Okay? And let's just say that's the written intensity for the workout. That's what's on the board. That's what is intended for the workout to be. Okay? There's been some thought process in that. So when the person that writes the program writes it with that level of intensity and says, okay, you're going to do that for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and you're going to do it at that level of intensity, and then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to do that in reps. The efficacy of that workout is built into the workout. It's there. But if you do the workout like this, and now your time component goes to 5 seconds. You're doing it, you're lifting the weight, and you're doing it the way that it's supposed to be done, but now you're doing it and it takes 5 seconds. Your work capacity dropped to 4. I mean, your power now dropped to 4 instead of 10. And so now, because you decided that you weren't going to put the intensity into the workout, you changed the efficacy. Now, am I ever going to be able to get you to do a pull-up? It might take 9 years for me to get you to do a pull-up if your intensity level is that low. I hope that makes sense. And if you're not an exercise person, you're probably lost right now. You're probably like, what is he talking about? He's just rambling. But if you've done some exercise, then you kind of understand, oh, I see what he's saying. Like, it's written to be done at a certain intensity, and because it's written to be done at a certain intensity, then it has a certain efficacy of what's going on right there. And it has a certain efficiency, but it might be a little less safe. And there's kind of a balance. There's a give and take in between that. If you're completely safe in your exercise program, you're probably not very efficient. So you got to push it just a little bit. And that's where the criticism comes in, is sometimes it's pushed too far. And when it's pushed too far, then there's some things that get hurt. And then the people that aren't doing it, like I used to be for years and years and years, because I used to be that way. I used to be critical of CrossFit because I saw the injuries. So what I did is I labeled it as unsafe. And it's like, I didn't understand the process. I didn't understand what they were getting done by pushing the limits a little bit was way more beneficial to the group than what would be done if you were too safe. So in our gym, we're probably a little bit more conservative. In other gyms, they're probably a little bit more liberal with that, pushing that envelope a little bit. And so you kind of got to find when you get your exercise program put together, you want to be able to try to find that balance of where that, kind of where that fits. And what I'm basically saying is, don't be hypercritical of a little bit of sprain strain or a little bit of uncomfortableness or a little bit of small injury in your workout program. Don't be too hypercritical of that. When it happens, don't say I told you so. That's like, oh, see, I see that I knew that was going to get me. It was going to hurt me. It's like, well, okay. I mean, obviously, you want to take time and you want to build your workout program slow enough that your body is is able to handle it, and you can get in there and do the things that you need to do and take some time. That's why it helps if you have a trainer that helps you. And I'm a big fan of that. I think having a trainer, whether you're doing CrossFit or whether you're doing anything, is a good idea if you haven't done any exercise. But you say, well, I kind of strained my shoulder. Okay, well, good. It's not all bad that you strained your shoulder because you were doing something. You were increasing your power. You were increasing your intensity. You were doing something. You were increasing the efficiency and the efficacy of your workout program, which was changing your health and making you healthier. And in the process, you caused a little bit of strain on your shoulder. That's not all that bad. It's not all that bad to push it a little bit in an exercise program. So, maybe that made any sense. Maybe it didn't make any sense. You guys can. Lewis says, "Hook 'em horns." No thanks. That's funny, Lewis. You can send me a text if any of that first part of the show was just over confusing to you. Just send me a text, and then we'll get back and finish this up on the other side. We got to take a break, and I got to change some batteries right here, and we'll get back here in just a second. And then we're going to get into, we're going to wrap this up, and then I've got some things I want to move into with conversations that we had this week, especially talking about depression. So you guys hang around. We'll be right back. All right, give me 1 second. Okay. Try to get maximum battery life out of these little batteries, and I don't never know how long they're going to last. So sometimes we've got to change them in the middle of the show. I hope that wasn't too hope that wasn't too confusing about what to do in exercise. Just it was a good when I listened to Greg Glassman say it and I listened to him talk about it, he basically changed my opinion of my ignorance, really. He shed some light on my ignorance and because I probably was being too conservative with my philosophy of exercise in my season that I didn't exercise. You know, I wasn't in the arena exercising. I was standing outside criticizing the people that were in the arena for exercising too hard. And the people inside the arena were just looking back at me and saying, "Why don't you shut up? You're not even in here exercising. What are you doing criticizing us?" And that was fair. I mean, that was completely fair. That was a fair deal right there. So once I got in there and started studying it, just like anything else, you start studying it, and then all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, wow, I see what they're talking about. It's like, let's go, let's get it. Oh, sorry, I thought that was my music. Let's say that I was like, let's go, let's get it. And now I understand it better. Maybe you guys will understand it. Maybe it'll make some sense. And then we'll get to this last one. This will be really quick, and then we'll get into depression. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We just finished breaking down the exercise program, finished that last slide. This is the very last slide. It's just tips for staying safe during the program. Just things you might want to pay attention to. Talk to a professional before starting a workout program. Everybody puts talk to your doctor before starting a workout program. I actually changed that when I looked on there. I was like, um, I understand why they say it. They're trying to cover themselves when they say it. Um, Obviously, if you're dealing with a serious health condition, then you probably should make sure that your doctor knows what's going on. But I don't think it's necessarily, and this is my own opinion, so don't take this as this is not treatment, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary to talk to your doctor. I mean, in some of these certain circumstances, like here, well, I'm the one that runs the program, so we're going to talk about things before you start anyway. If you're going to like CrossFit Cross and MJ and those guys are taking care of you, I mean, there's going to be a doctor there. So if you're working out somewhere here in town, you can do that. Don't let the doctors create the monopoly on exercise. Then we'll be right in the same exact muck and mire that we're in with all the rest of the stuff, right? Make sure you got a professional that knows what they're doing to check you and make sure. Like I've had 2 guys with rods in their femurs that have been new patients lately, and I adjusted a guy today that's he's got zipper looking staples in his stomach from 2 surgeries that he's had. I've got another guy with wires in his chest I adjusted this week from open heart surgery that he had, right? Like you got to do your due diligence to make sure that when you're asking someone to do their workout program, that they're capable of doing it and they're not going to hurt themselves. That is important, I think, to stay safe. Number 2 is learn proper movement techniques. Actually take a minute before you get started in your workout to actually learn how to move your body and get your trainer to teach you how to move your body. If you want to come up here and help me, let me show you how to do some of it, how to move your body. There's a proper way to squat. There's a proper way to stand. There's a proper way to bend over. Excuse me. So those things are things that are important that you can do and you need to learn before you get into the program. That is one thing that will help you from getting hurt if you understand how to move your body properly. Understand how to use the equipment. Take some time. If you're going to a gym, take some time to learn what the equipment is. Get somebody to show you how it works. Get somebody to show you how to move the seat or move the back of the seat back or forth, or the legs. Get it to where it fits you, where it's supposed to fit you. Wear the proper clothing when you go work out. You can wear whatever you want to, but it fits the model, right? You come in your street clothes and your dress shoes, and you come into the gym and you're like, you do your exercise. It's like, you can do that fine. And if you got enough discipline and focus, you could do it just fine, but it's not necessarily the best outfit to wear to go work out. And in some places, especially in CrossFit gyms, they don't wear enough clothes, in my opinion. So in our place, you got to wear your clothes. The girls got to wear shirts and stuff like that, and so do the guys. Nobody's stripping down in our gym, but a lot of those places they do. And that might not be your style, but it is important to wear proper clothes, and then pay attention to your surroundings. You might have you just kind of need to eyeball where you're working out. If you were to fall, what would you hit? That's something that you could kind of ask yourself. Am I working right in front of a window? And if I was to trip, would I go right through the window? Are there mats on the floor that I need to pay attention to and watch my step? When I'm getting on and off of a rowing machine or a bike or some sort of machine, the way that do I have enough room to get my leg around it without hitting my ankle on something? Or, just paying attention to your surroundings. And if you're in a gym, paying attention to other people who are working out so that you don't get in their way and get hurt, or somebody might be doing something dangerous. You just kind of got to keep your eyes open a little bit about what's happening. Any really slick spots, or sometimes people get to sweating and things get slick. and got to be careful for that. Um, make sure you got good grip on things, and keeping yourself organized. Keeping your body organized is really important too. So that's the end of the exercise slideshow. So I want to move on, and I want to just talk about I want to talk about depression, and then because I had a conversation with one of my patients this week about her husband. I said, "Hey, you want to get your how's your husband doing?" And she said he's depressed. And I said, "Well, who's his chiropractor?" And he's had some issues. He's had some back surgeries. He's had some trouble. He's got some eye trouble. There's some things going on with him, and he's worried that we're going to hurt him in the office. Okay, and so he doesn't want to come in because he's in that right hemisphere of his brain. He's in the unknown. He's not real sure about what we're going to do, and I just wanted to, you may be dealing with depression right now. And if you are dealing with depression, I think it's very important for us to understand how you can get through it. Because I had multiple conversations this week with depressed people. I had multiple conversations with men and women, with young and old, about people right now in January 10th that are depressed. And I want to know if it's hard, because if you're depressed, you don't want to hear about depression. It's like, shut up. I don't want to listen to you anyway. You probably already turned me off, and you don't want to listen to it anyway. But maybe if you're not depressed and you're listening to the show, and maybe you can help someone else, not be depressed, it might be helpful. And so just remember that depression is an imbalance, from what I understand it to be, and I've studied it a little bit, of right and left hemisphere of the brain. What we've got is we have that imbalance of this up and to the right, but we're not getting over to the left. Your right hemisphere, remember, looks out for the unknown. Ask yourself, if you're depressed right now, or you're dealing with some depression, ask yourself, is part of the depression coming from a thought of unknown? Like, are you actually thinking about something that is you don't know the answer to? How's this relationship going to work out? How's this relationship with me and Leslie going to work out? We've been together since we were 16 years old. And is there, just lay in bed, think about, I don't know if this is going to, I don't know what we're doing. Like, no. I'm not saying that personally is true. I'm just saying that if I was doing that, right? If I was having that conversation, it would be unknown. What about if you're changing jobs? Where are you going to be next year? What are you going to be doing? How are you going to pay your bills? What's going to happen? All those things that are going on, right? Those things. Your health is falling apart. What's going to happen? How should I have handled it? What should I have done as a young person? Dadgummit, I wish I would have done things different. And like all that. Those are things that are just unknown sentences to you. And remember that your right hemisphere's job is like Big Brother, is like your parents looking out for the things that can go bad. Things that can go bad is that right hemisphere's job. The left hemisphere doesn't look for any of that stuff. The left hemisphere is just happy. The left hemisphere is just happy all the time. Until it's bipolar, really, because then that's where anger comes from too, because it's like, why aren't you following what I'm doing? It's already dealing with the known. It's not happy is probably not the best word, but it's the left hemisphere doesn't look out for the things to worry about. It's like that's the right hemisphere's job. So what is depression and anxiety? Depression and anxiety is in some form or fashion is overactivity of that right hemisphere. Your brain is looking out for the unknown more than the reality of the unknown is in your life. That will make you depressed. That will cause depression. Okay? So we can do things in our office that we can work on brain activity without adjusting the spine. Now, is it my favorite way to work on brain activity? No, it's not. I'm a bigger fan of using the spine to help me work on brain activity. But can I work on brain activity without adjusting the spine? Absolutely. There's lots of stuff we could do. We can use the eyes. We can use the wrist. We can use the elbow. We can use the shoulder. We can use the lasers. We can use the vibe plates. We could use the exercise equipment. There's lots of things that we can do in the office that's going to help a person with depression that even though we can't get their spine to move, it will be more, we will have more efficiency if we can use the spine. We can make it happen faster, but that's one of the things that we can do to help someone that way, okay? But let's talk about some of the other things that you might be able to do for yourself if you are dealing with some depression. So I've got an article here that Dan put out. And remember, when I go see Dr. Murphy, it's an entire notebook, 3-ring binder of article after article after article, right? This is the mechanisms of psychiatric illness, inflammation, depression fans the flame and feast on the heat. American Journal of Psychiatry, November 2015, volume 172, number 11, pages 1075 to 1091. And I'm going to take it out of here, this notebook, so that we can break it down a little bit better. But this comes from several people from the Institute of Behavioral Medicine Research and Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Health at Ohio State University College of Medicine. Go Buckeyes. Go Buckeyes. They probably already started. They probably already got a lead on them boys. Let's see. No, let's don't get out of that. Let's don't lose our focus. We're talking about depression. Okay. Depression and inflammation fuel one another. Depression and inflammation are intertwined, feeling and feeding off each other. The depression-inflammation relationship begins early in life. This is why children should also have anti-inflammatory diets and supplements. Inflammation plays a key role in depression's pathology. There is a bidirectional link between depression, inflammation, and disease. Okay, so we know that we've got overactivity in the right hemisphere. So that's just one thing. So if we say, all right, here's our graph, here's our line, and here's where we're going to get depression. So now we know already that we have an overactivity in the right hemisphere. This is just brain all by itself. Now what we do is we just add the inflammation on top of it. And it's like, okay, now we're inflamed. We're inflamed because we're of our diet. We're inflamed because we're of the lack of exercise. We're inflamed because we haven't been taking care of ourselves, right? So that's what we're starting to do is we're starting to stack. So now we're stacking this up, and we've already added, just from the brain not functioning properly, now we add the inflammation that goes on top of it by eating those things that cause inflammation. And that is a wicked little cycle that happens inside the brain, because this overactivity in this right hemisphere and the lack of information to the left hemisphere decreases the dopamine. We know that, right? It decreases the dopamine. And the lack of dopamine causes you to want to go get something to replace it from the external world. Now you go get it. Now that's why you're eating your sugar in the first place. That's why you eat your chips. That's why you drink your Cokes. That's why you eat your chocolate. That's why you have your donuts. That's why you have your biscuits. It's not because you like biscuits. I promise you. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it every year until everybody in the world gets it. You don't eat donuts because you love donuts. No, not because you love the taste of donuts, not because donuts. No. The only reason you eat donuts is because you have a lack of left hemisphere activity, low dopamine. You are neurologically feeding your brain. That's what you're doing. It's not because of the taste of the donut in any other relationship than what it does to your brain. If you have plenty of dopamine and you've got balance in your brain, you will not crave a donut. I'm telling you, I'm almost 3 years of no sugar. I'm almost 3 years of no sugar, and I'm telling you, that is true. And you're talking to a guy who's eaten 1,000 boxes of donuts. I love donuts. I love donuts. I love chocolate donuts with nuts on top of them, especially peanuts. Put peanuts, high inflammatory peanuts, on top of high inflammatory chocolate donuts. I've probably eaten, 500, 1,000 donut in 20 whatever years because we grew up in a donut shop. That's my favorite. And I don't like 4, 5, 6 at a time. Get a dozen, eat them all eventually. You're not talking to a guy that doesn't know anything about eating donuts. I know something about eating donuts. And I can tell you, I haven't craved a donut in 3 years. You could bring me a whole box of donuts. I'd just look at them. Wouldn't even make any difference to me. Why? Because I finally figured this out. So what happens? What did I do over the break? I had chips once. I got some chips and queso over the break. Why? What was happening? I was starting to lose that balance between right and left hemisphere. I was starting to drop that dopamine because I hadn't been on my feet for 3 or 4 days because I took a couple of days off after New Year's and sat around and looked at my phone and watched stupid stuff and football on TV and then got off my feet and just was lazy as heck. And then what happened to my brain? My brain started craving chips. Why? Why did my brain start craving chips? Because it was low. That left hemisphere wasn't working. So what happens to my right hemisphere if my left hemisphere is not working? My right hemisphere overworks. Now I'm looking out for the negatives. I'm looking out for the threats. I'm looking out for the unknown. Now I've got this overactivity over there, which is depressing. Right? So what is the person going to do? The person's going to eat the chips. The person's going to drink the alcohol. The person's going to look for the chocolate. The person's going to get the whole deal of ice cream. We're going to go into that thing. And then what is that going to do? It's going to drive our inflammation. It's going to drive our inflammation. And then inflammation plays a key role in depression, right? So larger, more frequent, and more prolonged inflammatory responses could have negative mental and physical health consequences. Just drives. Now we're putting our foot down on the acceleration of depression. We're moving faster into depression that way, right? So that's one of them. It goes through there. Elevated inflammatory signaling dysregulates neurotransmitter metabolism, impairs neuronal health, and alters neural activity in mood-relevant brain regions. That's basically everything I just said right there on this point number 7. Elevated inflammatory signaling dysregulates neurotransmitter metabolism. It dysregulates the chemicals, the neurotransmitters in the brain, impairs neuronal health, nerve health. It impairs nerve health and alters neural activity in mood-relevant brain regions. This comes from the American Journal of Psychiatry. That's what inflammation does to the brain, right? Peripheral release cytokines send signals via molecular, cellular, and neural routes, which ultimately reach the brain and enhance central nervous system inflammation. Cytokines alter production, metabolism, and transport of neurotransmitters that synergistically affect mood, including dopamine, glutamate, and serotonin. Right? Cytokines inhibit the enzymes that convert tryptophan to serotonin, slowing serotonin production and promoting depression. That's why when I'm talking about health all the time, I talk about how it stacks. It's like, why eat grass-fed meat? Because it's less inflammatory than corn-fed meat. Okay, what difference does that make? It makes so many differences. It makes so many differences that you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and it's like, yeah, it's like, what do you mean, depression? Like, you're telling me that eating peanut butter versus eating almond butter has a difference in my depression? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Taking your fish oil decreases your depression? Yes. Why? Because it decreases your inflammation. See how all that stuff stacks together? It goes and goes and goes, and it just keeps stacking, right? Okay, let's get to the gut microbiome, because everybody right now is sick. I mean, not everybody, but I've got all kinds of patients that have been missing. They got the flu and they got COVID. You know how many people told me they got COVID over the break? Over and over. And man, I was sick in COVID, and my husband got COVID, and he had a bronchitis, and my kids got this and all that stuff. It's like, why? What is going on out there? Why is there so much sickness going on out there? Right? Well, what does it do? How about the gut and depression? The gut-brain axis involves bidirectional communication between the central nervous system and the gastrointestinal tract. Goes both ways, right? We know that. We know those neuropod cells exist in the lining of the intestine. We know that's why, what I'm saying is, when you eat the donut, the neuropod cells in the intestine tell the brain you got the donut, and it releases the transmitter in the neurotransmitter in the brain that gives you the dopamine that you wanted from the donut. You thought it all was in your taste, and you're like, ooh, that was good. Nope. Your brain was on crack. That was what was going on, right? Alterations in the gut microbiota shape physiology through contributions to inflammation, obesity, and mood, among other things. Depression promotes intestinal permeability, a leaky gut, increasing systemic inflammation. Targeting the gut-brain axis benefits the vagus nerve, spinal cord, and neuroendocrine systems. That's your prebiotics and your probiotics that help that. Diet plays a key role in the gut's microbiota composition, and thus represents one potential therapeutic avenue, as do supplements, particularly probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics may reduce depressive symptoms, such as results in the anti-inflammatory properties, as well as their ability to reduce the HPA axis activity. We know that HPA axis activity. We've done that. We'll probably get into that here again shortly. Disturbed sleep doubles one's risk of depression. Sleep loss stimulates production of pro-inflammatory cytokines. Also, heightened inflammation disrupts sleep regulation. So, one of the things that this patient told me was her husband can't sleep. He'll stay up late looking at his iPad, and because he can't see, he keeps the iPad really close to his eyes. And when he keeps the iPad really close to his eyes, the blue light hits his eyeball, and his eyeball thinks he's still is supposed to be awake. It messes up the whole circadian rhythm. It messes up the whole the system that tells you that you're supposed to be asleep. When I was on the ranch growing up, we used to put mares under lights during breeding season or before breeding season to get them to think that it was spring, to get there so we could breed them earlier, so the babies could be born in January and February and not be born in May and June. We used to put mares under lights and make them think that it was a different part of the year. The same thing goes on right there. when we get that light on our eyeballs, we disrupt our sleep. When we increase our inflammation, we disrupt our sleep. When we disrupt our sleep, we increase our depression. It causes this issue inside of our head, right? And then we get into diet. Healthier diets are linked with lower risk of depression. Studies indicate that healthier diets offer protection against the development of depressive symptoms and depressive disorders. So calorie restriction is one of the things that is powerful anti-inflammatory. So if you eat less food, you'll be a little bit less depressed. So I run out of time. That's all I got for depression for tonight. If you guys are dealing with it and you want to talk to me about it, send me a message. I'd be glad to talk to you about it. But it is all tied together. The foundations that we talked about this week, if you'll follow those foundations and you're dealing with depression, your depression will get better. If you eat well, you move well, and you think well, your body is going to function better. That's all I got for you tonight, and I'm out of time. So hope you guys have a great weekend. Let's check it right quick before we run out of time. Let's just see what is going on. Oh, there's just 7 minutes to go, and it's 0-0. So, all right, Lewis, good luck. Hope it doesn't work out for you. And otherwise, we'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.